Hey guys, we are here with Arrrlex and Jord, bringing the trio back together. It's hard to believe that 2 weeks from like today, we are going to be in Miami for the annual shareholder meeting. Guys, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. Thanks for having us, E-Rock.
And I gotta say, if like a year ago you told me that I'd be splitting a room with Arrrlex and flying down with him, I would be like, yeah, no way, that's not happening. But we are. We're actually traveling together, and dude, I'm really excited. And it's funny, like I've never met you, but we talk all the time. Literally, I talk to you guys all the time, like you're my neighbors, for Christ's sake. Literally. so so
Right
it,
around the corner, man. Down the street.
literally. You and I are really actually we're all fairly close in the Western New York area. We have I know Jordan, I know you have properties out this way, and you're up there in Rochester and Rochacha, and I'm out here in the Below, and we will be getting together for wings this summer. I know that. Um so listen, Jordan, I'm gonna start with you real quick, and we will pull out the tape measure to see who it has the most ILUS shares, which I'm telling you you guys have me beat. So yeah, no, you do. Oh wait, no, the truth is, our Jord, you have more than 3 million shares at this point. One of the most exciting things that we're gonna hopefully find out are details to the share lockup. Could you speculate as to what you think they're gonna offer, and just take it from there?
Sure. Thanks, E-Rock. Yeah. So I'm, obviously all of this is complete speculation because until they make the formal announcement, we won't really know. But it's my understanding, based on the breadcrumbs that I've seen in different PRs and what it is that I think they're trying to accomplish, is that it's a twofold process. The first part is obviously to lock up your shares. And my understanding of that is it's going to be tier based, meaning the more shares you lock up based on the criteria in which they set, that the rewards or the returns would be greater for the larger amounts of shares being locked up. And the second part of that is that the reason they're locking these shares up is because after the 2 year lockup period and then the 12-month leak out clause, my belief is that we're going to be given the opportunity to actually swap our ILUS shares, or some ILUS shares that we lock up, and be able to transfer them over to some of the subsidiaries, specifically ERT, QIND, Vera, whatever's going to be available. And of course, the big caveat there is what's going to be available in 2 years after the share lockup is done, because at least my understanding of it is that we wouldn't be able to swap out anything before that. And because they've done so much in terms of growth and acquisitions, the likelihood of it being something more than we can even see right now, based on our basic understanding of what they're doing, is even if just the cards on the table are in play, I would be happy to lock up my shares. But if something else comes out, or if another company comes out and we have the ability to get that, I took this to mean that the people that support the company will be taken care of by giving them the opportunity of locking up said shares, which if they swap out, let's just say, for example, they swap out at a 1-for-3 conversion rate. So for every 3 shares of ILUS you have, you can convert it over to 1 share of QIND. With the much lower and better share structure at 100 million shares, and then much less for that for the float, the expectation after the uplist, which would of course occur within that 2 year lockup period, would be so much more advantageous to the person that wanted to exchange some shares, that you could potentially, let's just use the current share price as an example. You could basically lock up 3 shares of ILUS at 7 cents and potentially convert those at the end of 2 years for $2 or $3 shares for QIND or Vera or something else.
That would be spectacular. Arrrlex, what would be the one thing? All right, when I just talked about the lockup, because there are so many things that would be enticing to a shareholder. What would be the one thing that you would want to see in the shareholder lockup? If you could pick one thing that they would offer, what would it be?
Dividends. That's the smartest way to go. We see this as a long-term opportunity. They keep, it's been referenced a lot that this is baby Berkshire Hathaway. Um, similar to Amazon and all of their steps that they've taken. So I feel like if we're holding it the long term, give us the dividends, baby. Um, if they don't give us the dividends and the price goes up till 50, we'll take the profits. But if they give us dividends, I might never be selling this ever. Yeah, that's my hope and desire.
Yeah, well, for me, like I'm just excited to see whatever they offer us. I can't think of one thing. Dividends would be great. I think we are far off from that, but you know, we're gonna talk about other stocks in a second, but getting shares for other companies, I think, is really going to be a benefit, especially like George said, with the smaller share structures. And I was when I was talking to JP after our interview, and I can't say this is official because it wasn't officially on the record, but he did mention that they were considering a 1-year lockup option as well. So I know that they said it would be a 24-month lockup with a leak out phase. But he said that they were considering a 12-month as well. So whether or not that's the case, I think that would be, that would be enticing, like I like to say, to some shareholders that don't necessarily want to lock up their shares for 24 months, 36 months. But I think that they're gonna put the candy out, and they're gonna want us to grab it. So I think that they're gonna offer something substantial. But I may be completely wrong. So many things have changed. I mean, and I don't want to say that we're in the dark, because we're really not necessarily. We are sort of in the dark with what's going on, but they have had communication with us. There's so much information that we want right now that we're eventually going to get, but now that they are fully reporting, I think that they have to abide by a new set of standards, essentially. And that's my second note for tonight. That actually brings me right here, and I'll let you guys indulge in this. It has been pretty quiet, for ILUS lately, and many people attribute it to their new compliance with the SEC. So do you guys think that this is like some kind of a reset? Especially, and I just watched the Nick Link video. I mean, timelines aren't going away. That's just the nature of the beast. You're going to have timelines. Most of them don't work out because there's negotiations that are bouncing around back and forth. But, not just in regards to timelines, but PRs. Do you think they're going to release deals and release more information the closer they get to the end of those deals? Because I personally think that they are going to draw back a little bit now that they're getting to the QB. I think they're going to be really picky with their information. That's my personal opinion. You guys could take it away. What are your opinions on that?
I I personally feel, Iraq, that they're adapting. The whole mentality of ILUS is to acquire, transform, and most importantly, to adapt. Especially coming from the Discord and StockTwits, a lot of bashing has occurred. A lot of complaints that they miss timelines, or they're not very great at delivering the news about the timelines. And a plethora of times they have messaged JP, they have messaged Nick, and there was a recent letter, I believe it is from JP. Basically, it was a response. A member from our Discord asked them a question as to how they would change. Not the PRs, but the tweets that they release. And JP said that they are adapting, that they are changing the way for the betterment of the company. Yes, us as shareholders are something that he considers and holds dearly. But first and foremost comes the company and the growth of the company. And the quiet period, it very well could be that they're adapting to how they are releasing the tweets. They're seeing that the economic and market conditions are pretty terrible right now. But also, I don't want to say this to cause fear or FUD, but at the same point, they could pivot, and they could chase a greater deal that approached after they made the news. So I can only imagine, as a CEO, as a manager of a company, if something better comes your way that's more favorable to you and your vision, why you would not consider or take it.
Yeah, Jordan, what are your thoughts? I'm actually trying to look up that exact letter right now, so I don't mean any disrespect when I'm looking down. I'm trying to find the letter that you're referring to. Jordan, your thoughts?
No, I completely agree with Arrrlex. I think that the two big points to be considered here are the first one, which is ILUS had already pivoted from acquiring many small companies and decided through uncertain terms that we're not aware of that they wanted to pivot into larger plays. Their ability to do so actually would have reconfigured their original plan so much so that all of the previous timelines and everything else that had been telegraphed and projected would actually have to be altered and or potentially even change to the point, like we know some of the companies, Triple P and this and that, didn't come through, and so they were ultimately having to pivot to larger plays. Now, I think the key takeaways are, if you're paying attention, and it's not easy for many people because they equate the quality of the company with the current share price, but based on the fact that they've accomplished the goals at which they set forth during the last annual shareholders meeting, I think the real important part here is going to be what they tell us in this year's annual shareholders meeting, and then them setting up the same level of success that they did last year, even though the share price does not represent it. Once they have their plans announced, if they keep following through the way that they have, they keep closing on the companies that they have, and they keep adding the value that they have with minimal dilution, I think that we have nowhere to go but up, because the single most important part to investing in any company is trying to pick the most qualified, competent people with the most amount of integrity running it. Because traditionally, these companies have been nothing more than piggy banks for the CEOs and the officers, and they just constantly strip away shareholder value and line their own pockets. Being that ILUS has shown themselves over the course of a few years now to not be doing this and actually trying to build something amazing, there's still obviously risk. Even one piece in their puzzle, if it doesn't fit exactly where they needed it to fit, the expectation is that they would have to do many, many months of due diligence and research to find the next piece that's going to fit in the same place and provide the same purpose that the previous piece did. Based on that and how quickly they've been able to pull everything together, I have nothing but confidence in them, because they keep providing results based on what they predicted. And in this case, that would be the SEC reporting and the QB uplist in whatever it is, 30 to 60 days from now. And when that happens, I don't see anything but good things on the horizon, because it's going to open up a certain level of transparency that not only allows current shareholders to feel more comfortable in their holdings, but also opens up the possibilities for larger money to jump in.
Yeah, right on. And I think that, to piggyback on what you just said, the recent podcast video that Nick Link released for Sea Growth Capital, he alluded to companies in which they've retained $100 million revenues. So I think he sort of gave us the answer for what the Q4 is for ILUS without giving us the answer, which that's one thing that I pondered on that for a second. I'm like, yeah, well, if he said $100 million, then I think that's what they hit. So that they must have had a banging fourth quarter. So that was a breadcrumb that I think that we all sort of looked at and like, all right, maybe he just dropped a little bit for us there, which was sort of cool. Yeah, I could not find that letter at all. I looked.
I DM'd it to you.
Oh, you did?
Yes, sir.
You DM'd it to me right in the oh, here it is.
Discord, yeah.
This is the letter, right? And so let me just take it from this second paragraph. And I think that you summed it up nicely. I accept your points regarding communication, and while I know that we have achieved very significant things in 2022, we are also a business which is developing so rapidly that even the counsel we get from those working with us to deliver our plan change from the end of November to the end of December. To your point regarding a shift or change in how we think, how things are tweeted out or communicated, we have already made this change as of year end, because as a business in our stage of growth and transition, it is our best way forward. And I think that we're correct in the aspect that we're going to get less. I hate to use the word fluff, because I really think that they're just enthusiastically sharing with the shareholders, but I think we're going to get less of that. I think we're going to get more of the brass tacks of like, boom, this is an acquisition that we have worked on for the last 4 months. We didn't tell you about it, but it's in its final stages, and we will be finishing it. The final contract in the next 3 weeks, as opposed to we are starting the due diligence phase for X and X company in the first phase. Because I think that they want less of that, because they have gotten a lot of slack for that. And I get it, because people that want to make money are enthusiastic, so it is like dangling the carrot. So I think that they're going to share that much more just later in the process, if that makes sense to you guys. That's what I think is going to happen. So, and he said it right there. So I think that is going to be better off. And I think they're going to be a stronger QB company because of it. Just the fact that they're getting there in an economic correction and a high inflationary period, and they're building it up, getting the QB, getting SEC reporting, getting all that done now while we're in the shit, essentially. I think that when things bounce back, they are going to have positioned themselves to the point where they're going to the share price is going to be overvalued instead of severely undervalued like it is now, of course. But I want to go on to the next point that I had for you guys. All right, who wants to go first?
Depends on the point.
Depends on the point. All right, I don't know. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to go with Arrrlex. If you could give me your top 5 stock picks, what would they be and why? And they don't even have to be stocks that you own. Maybe stocks that have been on your watch list. Go for it.
ILUS.
Got 2 more to go.
That's the thing, man. I only own 3 stocks. 90% of my portfolio is ILUS, and then igpk is closing in a little bit, and then cgra, which I'm going to start heavily investing in cgra as soon as I can. I don't look to make a quick buck. That is not my mentality. I've done that before. I've lost a lot. I'm not going to chase. I'm sticking by the fundamentals. I'm sticking by the vision. I'm sticking by the transparency of the leadership team. And that is what has been working for me. I can't tell you, and I won't tell you the other 2 stocks because I'm not actively looking, and I can't. How can I lead someone else astray if I don't know myself? So those are the 3 stocks that I'm in, and that's all I'm going to say.
Right on. Jord, take it.
Yeah, obviously ILUS first, QIND second, DRCR third, CGRA fourth, and the sleeper play of the century is MSGP if you can get it for cheap with the limited volume that it has, usually ranging from 500 to 1,000. There's speculation that that's going to become the new special purpose vehicle for the defense sector when that spins off. But essentially, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, is the most difficult part of the OTC, as it is with any stock that you purchase, is what to purchase, only followed up by when to enter and exit the position. One of the nice things about being in a historically significant recession is that it's much easier to figure out when to buy something when it's at or near 52-week lows. And then second to that is finding a company. Like, so many people chase Karen Courier shells because the expectation is that she does a good job and the shells that she provides other companies are actually ready to go, so that there's the likelihood that they can make money with it. I would argue that most people, especially inexperienced people, would be served quite well in finding people that have that that integrity and that ability to actually make money with different companies. And as soon as we have one of those 5 companies pop off, which the expectation is going to be relatively soon, that I think it's going to serve as a proof of concept, which is going to let people know that this is not the traditional OTC, this is not the traditional management team, and this is not the traditional stuff where you buy on hype and then the price drops and you can't figure out why and it never recovers. The one thing that I like more than anything about ILUS, and it's so often gets overshadowed, and the FUD and the anger that is so obviously prevalent because the share price is currently down, is that the company is being run by business people who have integrity, who have a vision, who have a plan. And while that doesn't guarantee anything long term for the share price, it does, in my opinion, make the likelihood of it still being a company that's actually trying to make money in 3 years a lot more likely than so many of these other fly-by-night OTC companies. So for that reason and that reason alone, anything that Nick Link touches for the near future, I'm going to be investing as much as I can possibly get into them.
Right on. I agree with you. You know, if I could give 5 stocks now, and I want to touch on something that Arrrlex, you said, and basically like, why would you share a stock and lead somebody else astray? And I get that. And I want to just reaffirm on this channel that I'm only going to share stocks that I'm either invested in or plan on investing in. I'm not just going to give you the pump of the week, you know, because that's not, I mean, there's so many other YouTube channels that do that. That's what they're for, and that's what they do, and they take pride in that. I like to share my passion for the DD that I've done, and I still have a long way to go. But my 5 stocks are ILUS, obviously, is my number one. You know, I got 36 grand in that. I have 331,000 shares and some. I want to get a couple more, you know, because it's only, you know,
he wants to catch up to me.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. I'm half the man you are, I guess. My other one is CYBL. I think there's a lot of potential there. You know, I'm not going to go on about that one, but they have to get their head out of their sand and make things right, because a lot of people are pissed off, and I understand. So that's one that I'm looking into, and that's one that I have $12,000 in. So yes, I do want it to succeed, and you know, you just do. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you gotta wait, sometimes it's just timing. You know, sometimes things don't work out. But whatever, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. I'm the one that clicked buy. So the other one, CGRA, I got in on that one. I have about 55,000 shares. I plan on getting more of that in a couple of weeks, definitely, because Nick Link is involved, and I was really pleased with his video. I think that he's laying the foundation for a company. I think that the that sports industry, and he even said he doesn't like the title for it. I don't blame him, because it is a sort of a wonky title, but whatever. So CGR, that's a big one. DRCR, I think the sports betting industry is going to boom. And I think that Swifty Global is going to knock it out of the park. Angus, who's on the board, chairman, Nick Link. And I think he's chairman. Is he not? Is he chairman of Swifty? Or is he just on the board? Okay, I'm right. I don't want to spread misinformation. And my flipper play that I'm hoping just runs to a penny someday is igpk. I think there's a lot of people in the Discord that, you know, they bought in at the wrong time, and we've seen such a retracement in all these stocks. You know what I mean? Like, do I think that every stock I mentioned, I think there's hope for every single one of those guys to succeed, and so that's why I bring them to you. You know, somebody could look at me and be like, "Why are you mentioning CYBL? They have skull and crossbones. They're a disaster with their paperwork." I go, I'll admit it. That's 100% true, you know, but that's just the nature of the beast. You know what I mean? That's sort of the game that we play. And that's why we do due diligence. That's why, Arrrlex, I know you want to try and find the ones that you could hold long. I don't have time. You work full time. I work full time. We all work full time. I don't have time to flip trades every day, you know? So, you know, it's nice to actually find investments that people you could connect with. Something that you want, like a stock that you could connect with, you know, like, for me, cannabis stocks, I'm doing the igpk, but like, once I got burned on Sugar-Made, I never wanted to touch a cannabis stock ever again. You know, I would never buy that stock again, ever. My friends are still ribbing on me. When I first 2 years ago, I was in the trading. I was getting into it because I was learning, and so you know, yeah, Sugar-Made, and you know, that was the height of, like, you know, everybody was learning how to do stocks. And I was like, man, what did I learn? And my friend's like, you said this was going to be good, and I'm down. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. That's why, guys, always check your DD. Always check your DD.
You made it back with Pooge. That's all that matters.
We only pick winners here on the BFC, guys. That's it. We pick all the bangers. Well,
you know, and Yeah, I would argue that one of the reasons that DRCR and QIND are such amazing long-term prospects and potentially short-term plays is because of the very advantageous share structures. QIND only has 100 million outstanding shares. The float's significantly less than that. DRCR was like over 90% insider owned. That anytime you watch the share price, it jumps, from 23.50 to 24 to this and that, and it doesn't do the incremental jumps that so many other stocks that we're accustomed to being in. And that has everything to do with a limited share structure, which makes it way better for the retail investor to buy in at cheaper amounts. Because, like I said, I don't know what the market cap of QIND is right off the top of my head, but I think it's somewhere around 30 million. And so the expectation is after they close on their deal with 100 million in revenues and 300 to 400 million in assets, is that the share price, even to be at a 1-1 comparison, would have to go up 2x. And so that's something that I think a lot of newer investors are not necessarily aware of. They sometimes chase the hype and volume, looking for something like Sugar Made that I think had 20 billion outstanding shares to keep going up. And of course, it's impossible for that to happen, because when you have that many outstanding shares, there's no way there can be a substantial increase in the share price, because otherwise the company would have a market cap larger than Apple.
QIND's market cap as of today was 25.41 mil.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, and even back to the cannabis stock thing, I'm not against cannabis stocks. I think they're a dime a dozen right now. And I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a few that really take over the markets and own it. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. IGPK, they're selling shirts, they're selling cannabis, they're fine dining, doing fine dining stuff now. Who knows? That's the thing, it's a crapshoot in the OTC. That's why it's important to really find the companies that have real revenue, real products, real contracts with municipalities and stuff. So,
hey, at least they sell shirts. ILUS investors have to create their own.
Yeah, right.
There you go. And the thing is, I think that's a very important point, because if you look at the market cap for IGBK, it's approximately $1 million right now. And so traditionally, the metric that stocks are measured by is approximately $100 million share increments, relatively. And so the expectation can be, if you buy a stock that has a $1 million market cap and they don't dilute or add to the outstanding shares, that the expectation is for, if it takes off, of course, which is a long shot, but if it happens, then you could potentially be getting 100x returns on whatever you invest. And so because that's so grandiose, the important thing for newer investors is that you don't have to bet the farm. The expectation is you can only bet $1,000 on it. And if it doesn't turn into $1 million play, then you're only at $1,000. But where people mess up so often is the gold fever catches their eye, and they just put all their money into it, thinking, man, if this thing turns into $1 billion company, I'm good to go. But that's exactly the reason that people bet on these plays. If you keep your initial investment under $3,000 and it doesn't, it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, you can always just sell it for tax losses on all the winners that you picked.
Sure. What are you talking about, man? That's exactly what I did with ILUS.
No, I was gonna say the same.
No, I bet the farm and I bet Erock's farm.
Well, but I'm saying I wouldn't put IGPK in the same. Yeah, I wouldn't put it in the same category as ILUS, because they haven't been able to show us their books or any other stuff, and we're still dealing with just word of mouth. But ILUS, on the other hand, is constantly inundated with different people attacking them, and thank God for us that the people that attack stocks are the ones that don't seem to understand anything or know anything, because their FUD is getting worse and worse. But the company keeps producing. You can't argue with an OTC company that's done $525,000 in their first quarter and $19.5 million in their last quarter, and just in a span of 7 quarters, and continues to keep producing, continues to keep moving upwards and onwards into an obvious plan in which they have already let us know. And so, being SEC reporting, uplisting to the QB, having the opportunity to make so much more money synergistically between their lateral, and vertical integration, as they're now bringing their manufacturing on board. it's a really magical time, but for so many people, they just expected the riches because they get their positive and negative information from stock twits. And companies, I think it was Warren Buffett that said, you know, you can't, there's certain processes you cannot speed up. You cannot get 9 women pregnant to have a baby in 1 month.
No comment.
You can't? Oh,
you
my
cannot.
God.
You cannot. It takes
Oh, my
one woman
gosh.
9 months.
Son of a bitch. Well, you know, oh man, I sort of you threw that comment in there, and now you totally threw my train of thought. What the hell was I going to say?
I can verify.
I was going to say
George's
something
comment.
that was sort of relevant. Oh, well, I was going to say, you know, it was the only stock at the time, and we can thank Eagle for this, that had 50 plus pages of due diligence to accompany it. And so I checked out Jonathan Burbank's channel. Guys, check it out, the Burbank Buzz. I'll put that in the link in the description. Subscribe to his stuff. He led me to the ILUS Discord. And, you know, there was so much information out there on ILUS. You know, once I got in the Discord, I was sold on it because there was always an answer to a question. And a lot of people fire off hot. And they're like, oh, this is a scam, this is that. But those are the same people that if you show them the facts and you show them a file, those people will not read it. They will not listen to it. I know people that they will listen to every idiot on stock twits, and you could literally put a link. Oh yeah, here's the file for that. Oh yeah, no, that's a lie. That's fake, whatever. And so you have to rise above that. You know what I'm saying? So
we're talking about you, Purple Penguin.
Oh,
well, I will leave this for you because my phone's about to die. But Jonathan Burbank is an exceptionally intelligent human being. He was at the first annual shareholders meeting and was singled out specifically by Nick Link, saying that Jonathan Burbank's questions were the only one he was afraid of because he asked the most poignant and pressing questions. And so I always watch everything that he does, everything that he puts out, and I listen to every word he says.
Totally. And you know, I can't wait to learn a lot. We're all Arrrlex and we're the newbies, I guess you could say, only having done this for a couple years now, but there is so much to learn. I'm not even a fraction of the way there yet.
Yeah. Hey, my phone's going to die, so I just want to tell you guys I appreciate you having me on just before I get cut off. I really look forward to the annual shareholders meeting, and like I said, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. There's still people that are sitting on what they consider to be bags, waiting for the news, and all I can say is that the storm is coming, and the best is yet to come.
All right, Jord, thanks for coming on. Arrrlex, thanks for coming on. We're going to close there, guys. Thank you so much. Let's do this again next week. Why the hell not? You know, 2 weeks away. Guys, remember, there is more that binds us than breaks us. You guys have an awesome night. See you soon.